I opened a credit card to pay mom's medical bills, then saw my brother's kids arrive by helicopter at a $14,000 party. When I asked who funded it, he smirked. Your card did. I just smiled. Until mom pulled out the bank envelope with my name on it. I'd always been the steady one, the son who fixed things, until the day my own brother flashed my credit card, the one I'd opened for my mom's medical bills, to pay for a $14,000 helicopter party. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just being helpful anymore. I was being used, and something inside me finally snapped. My name's Caleb, I'm 31, and I've always been the fixer. The older brother, the one who cleans up messes instead of making them. I own a small car wash off Route 9, for Bays, a vacuum station. I'm usually there before the sun even thinks about rising, counting quarters like they're little prayers, knowing my regulars by the rumble of their engines. Most people think owning a car wash is easy money. Let me tell you it's not. It's hoses freezing solid at 5 a.m., pumps hissing like angry snakes, and foam cannons that decide to quit on a busy Saturday. Growing up, my role was to be helpful and, at the same time, practically invisible. My mom used to say I was born serious. My dad, he only really spoke up if it involved sports. Then there's my younger brother, Mason. He's the golden child. Loud, flashy, always landing himself in some kind of trouble. But somehow, everyone rushes to catch him like he's a falling chandelier. I remember once, when we were kids, Mason put a fork in the microwave and broke it. My mom just laughed it off, saying, he's curious. A few weeks later, I accidentally melted a plastic cup, and she just sighed. Caleb, you know better. I learned pretty quickly how to take a joke, and more often, how to be one. Lately, though, mom hadn't been laughing much. Her voice had started to get thin, like someone was slowly turning down her volume. It was all appointments and waiting rooms that smelled of lemon cleaner, and, honestly, fear. I drove her to scans before sunrise, when my bays were still empty. I'd bring a thermos of coffee, a pack of crackers. She'd call me steady, and man, I clung to that word like it was something tangible. The day before everything went sideways, I was elbow deep in Bay 3, unclogging a drain, the fumes burning my face. My phone kept buzzing in my hoodie pocket. Remember to swing by? Soup day, mom texted. I swear, just reading that calmed me down. Soup day meant normal. I showed up with a grocery bag of rolls, the kitchen thick with the smell of chicken broth. Mason was already there, leaning against the counter in some designer hoodie, talking into his phone about a brand collab. He just waved without even looking up. Mom hugged me, but it felt like she was saving her breath. You look tired, she said. Working too hard. Slow season, I lied. Pipes hate me. She'd scared. Pipes don't hate you, Caleb. They just need you. That's how she talks, like the objects in our lives are moody toddlers. We ate in the living room, the TV on low, Mason still giggling at his phone. Mom asked about the car wash, so I told her about some guy who used 8 minutes of high-pressure rinse to blast mud off his boots. She gave a weak smile. People use what they think they have for what they wish they had, she said. I had no idea what that meant, but I just nodded along. After dinner, Dad brought up the hospital bill, casual as commenting on the rain. We'll figure it out, he said, eyes glued to the game. But his gaze felt like it was pointed right at me. You, Caleb. I stacked bowls in the sink, feeling that old, familiar gravity pull. Do more, say less. Then we heard it. A chopper thudding the air, a giant heartbeat. Mason practically launched himself at the window, a loaded grin on his face. That's tomorrow's test flight, he declared. Wait till you see the video. Test flight for what? I asked. He just winked. You'll see. Mom laughed, a quick, thin sound, then coughed. Your brother has big ideas, she said. He always did. I took her tea into the kitchen. As I rinsed the cups, her voice drifted over the clink of porcelain, low and soft. Caleb, you're my practical one, she murmured. You always know how to make hard things manageable. That was the first small trigger, that familiar pressure, but I just pretended I didn't feel it. That night, I drove home, wipers squeaking across a dry windshield, hands locked on the wheel, like you do when you know a sharp curve is coming and you can't see the warning sign yet. I barely slept, my brain constantly checking the door, waiting for something to happen. Let me quickly explain the family roles here. Mom, warm but so tired, always making lists with little stars in the margins. Dad, weathered and quiet, until money came up, then he'd get sharp. Mason, he was the family's favorite movie, always playing, always front and center. And me? I was the guy who cleaned the theater. After Dad got laid off from the parts warehouse 3 years ago, I started picking up extra night shifts at the wash. I did odd jobs on Craigslist, installing softeners, coin hoppers, bill validators. I learned that if you bring the right socket set and say my guy a lot, you can convince anyone to pay cash. Money wasn't easy, but it moved as long as I did. Every month, I'd slip Mom $400 for groceries. She'd always pretend not to notice, just saying, you always bring something, staring at the envelopes like they were shy animals. Mason, on the other hand, brought excitement. New shoes, a drone. Last summer, he started a YouTube channel where he filmed kid experiences, calling it a brand. It's about creating moments, Caleb, he'd tell me. You can't measure that in quarters. He'd say quarters, like it was a punchline. Meanwhile, my car wash literally runs on quarters. A petty part of me made a mental note when the first medical bill hit our mailbox like a brick. I opened it at Mom's kitchen table while she sat there, folding dish towels into perfect, silent rows. $6,412.17. That .17 just gnawed at me. It made the number feel like it could argue back. Mom kept smoothing the same towel, over and over. "We'll call," she said softly. "They do payment plans. They also do interest," I pointed out, my voice flat. She looked so small in that chair. "Caleb, I hate this." "I know," I said. "Let me try something." I drove straight to the bank. The manager, a guy with a perfectly parted side part and a sign on his desk that proudly declared, "We're in this together," flashed a practiced smile. I opened a new credit card, one with a zero-interest promo. Stupid, I know, but it felt like a bridge. Bridges are good, I told myself. You walk across them, you don't live on them. I went back to the wash, propped the office door open with a bucket while the dryer cycled. I called the hospital, gave them the card number. $3,000 down. "We'll send a receipt," the woman said, like she was wrapping a gift. I hung up and just stared at the flickering blue light of the coin counter on the wall. This would work. I just had to keep moving. I always kept moving. The next week, I was back to driving Mom to appointments, making sure the vending machine at the hospital was stocked with tissues because the nurses always ran out. I even forgot dinner twice. Meanwhile, Mason posted a reel of himself testing cotton candy machines for the kids' event of the year. The caption read, "Making childhood magical." The comments flooded in. "Uncle of the year, legend. Where do you get your ideas?" Mom even texted me, "Don't be hard on him." I wasn't hard on him. I told myself I was hard on me. See, over the years, I'd paid for a lot of things. Mason's rent once. Just this month, Dad's truck battery. 3 prom tux deposits for cousins. The security deposit when the basement flooded because someone thought a space heater and a cheap extension cord should be best friends. When people in my family said, "we," they usually meant Caleb. There were even those small, quiet humiliations, like when Aunt Rena asked at Thanksgiving, "Do you ever wish you'd finished college?" while Mason was explaining crypto to an uncle who thought it was a candy bar. Or when Dad introduced me to a neighbor as our handyman, and then Mason as our entrepreneur. I always let it slide. Friction makes heat, and we didn't need more heat. Then the helicopter thing hit. It buzzed my phone as a video in a group chat while I was cashing out the change machine. A clip. My niece and nephew, maybe 5 and 7, screaming with joy, running across a field as a helicopter descended. Confetti cannons exploded on the sidelines. The caption, $14,000 birthday grand entrance. And a hashtag I truly wish I hadn't seen. Hashtag family funded. I didn't respond. I put my phone face down, then picked it up again and watched. Because the human brain is cruel. I heard my sister-in-law squeal. I heard Mason shout, "We do it big." And in the background, my mother's laugh, thin but brave, and my father's voice, full of pride. 5 minutes later, I was at Mom's, a bag of groceries she hadn't asked for in my hand. She was at the kitchen table, a stack of envelopes, reading glasses perched low on her nose. "You saw?" she asked, like it was a weather report. "Yeah," I said. "Cool idea." She dabbed her napkin at nothing. "They're kids," she reasoned. "It's a memory." "I get it," I said. "Memories are expensive." She looked down at the envelopes. "Caleb, we should talk about." "Don't," I cut her off. "I'm handling it." I pulled out the credit card with the zero-interest promo. Her face shifted. "You opened that for me?" "For the bills," I said quickly, trying to buy time. She nodded, a small mix of grateful and guilty. "You always think ahead." That would have been the end of it if life were fair. But the very next day, as I was topping off the foam concentrate, Mason's SUV pulled into a bay. Music blasting, kids in the back sticky with frosting. He hopped out. "Bro, mind if I run this through quick? Gotta keep the brand clean." "Yeah," I said, gesturing him forward. "Card or quarters?" He smirked. "Card always." He pulled a card from his wallet, flicked it like a magic trick. "Your bank card is fancy," he said, his grin wide. "That matte black is fire." I frowned. "My business card is a paper rectangle with a phone number." "Nah," he corrected, wiggling the blue plastic. "My bank's logo. My name." My chest went hot, then cold. "That's not a business card," I said, my voice flat. "That's my card." "Exactly," he chirped, like this somehow proved he was brilliant. "Where did you get that?" I asked, my blood starting to pound. Then, from the doorway, Mom's voice. "I took it, Caleb." She had her purse on her shoulder, her coat crooked on one arm. Her face was tired, but not sorry. "It was for the kids. Mason promised to pay you back." Mason cut in, still smiling. "Thanks to your card, we got the chopper, man. You're a legend." Something in my face must have visibly shifted, because he quickly added, "Palms up, we'll settle up. Chill. Don't make it weird. My card has $200 on it," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Did you check the name or the limit?" Mason blinked, like the sun was suddenly in his eyes. Mom fished in her purse. "No. You had another one, a business one, right?" She pulled out the unopened envelope the bank had sent. The way people carry good luck charms they don't quite understand. That was the moment. Right there. The ground tilted. Small, silent tilts never look dramatic. They just line up other things so they can fall. I took the envelope from her hand. I felt the paper cut before I even saw it. Thin and mean across my thumb. Caleb, Mom said softly. I didn't answer. I put the card back in my wallet. I told myself to breathe. Then I did what I always do. I kept moving. But inside, a part of me finally just sat down. A week later, we were at a rented hall for the kids' combined birthday. Balloons everywhere, like small planets. A candy wall with little scoops. A cake shaped like a spaceship. Probably cost a house payment. I was carrying in 2 cases of water because someone just said, Caleb, could you? And my hands automatically agreed. Mason was everywhere. MC, photographer, ringmaster. My parents floated behind him, beaming like stage lights. I found Mom by the gift table, sitting when she thought no one was looking. I brought her a chair with a cushion. Save me a dance, I told her. She laughed, a tiny, tired sound. Careful now. Halfway through, the lights dimmed. The DJ screamed, make some noise. A video played on a giant screen. Helicopter blades slicing the sky. Kids squealing. Mason posing with the pilot, arm around him. Text overlaid. All love to the one who made this possible. Then the crowd erupted, shouting Caleb, because Mason had yelled it into the microphone, his finger pointing straight at me like a blessing and a bullet. A spotlight hit my face. I smiled, because that's what you do when a camera is nearby. But then I walked, straight to the side of the room, towards the doors, where the air wasn't quite so sweet. Mom followed, her steps slow. He's excited, she said softly. How much? I asked. Not loud, not angry, just real. How much did you charge? She looked down at her hands. Just a deposit. Mason said the sponsor would reimburse. Mason, I said, turning. He slid over immediately, like he'd been listening for his name his whole life. Hey, hero. He tried to hug me. I stepped back. How much? He rolled his eyes. Bro, we talked about this. It's fine. How much? I repeated, a steel edge to my voice. He sighed, big and dramatic. Okay, $14. 100. I asked, already knowing. 1,000. He finished, like it was a punchline we'd all laugh at later. The music kept pounding. People kept cheering around us, like we were in a commercial. I could smell sugar and fuel and the weird, rented linen clean scent of the hall. No, I said. He blinked. No what? No. I repeated, my voice steady. No more. No more charges. No more will settle up. No more pretending any of this is normal. He laughed, genuinely shocked. Bro, relax. Dad's voice cut in from behind him, already laced with annoyance. Caleb, don't make a scene. I turned slowly towards my father. You want to talk about scenes? A helicopter landing at a kid's party is a scene. It's a memory. Dad snapped, his jaw tight. Family takes care of family. Family asked. I shot back, and family took. Mom put a hand on my arm. Caleb, we were going to. I shook my head. Stop. I opened that card for your medical bills, Mom. Not this. Mason's smile vanished like someone had hit a switch. So, you're going to put a price on your niece and nephew's childhood? That's dark, man. I looked at him for a long, quiet second. Then I said, quiet. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. He laughed again, high and disbelieving. Closure? Over a party. Over years, I corrected. Over being the wallet with legs. Dad stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. Don't disrespect your mother in public. I'm trying to protect her, I said. From interest rates. And from you. A cousin appeared, sensing drama, their phone already tilting towards us. I could feel the moment calcifying into a story other people would tell wrong. I took a deep breath. I kept my voice level. Here are my boundaries. The card is now locked. I've canceled the auto pays. I will cover the hospital balance that I authorized, and nothing else. If you spend on that card again, I will file fraud. Because it is fraud, Mason. If you want to run an event, run it. If you want to run a bill, run it through your own name. Mason's mouth fell open. You wouldn't. I already did, I said, holding up my phone. Locked it 15 minutes ago in the parking lot. The app screen glowed in the dim light. It felt like holding a shield. He tried a different angle. You're ruining the kid's day. I looked past him at my niece and nephew, chasing bubbles, completely oblivious. No, I'm not, I said. They don't know who paid for anything. They just know if the adults around them are safe. Mom's eyes were glassy. Caleb, she whispered. Please. I turned to her, my voice softening just for her. I'll drive you Monday. We'll ask for an itemized bill. We'll negotiate. That's my yes. Everything else is no. Silence stretched, thick and heavy. People slowly drifted back to the candy wall. The DJ, sensing the dead air, turned the music up. Mason blinked a few times, like he was trying to reboot. Then he forced a laugh, clapped me on the shoulder too hard. All love, he shouted to the room. He's kidding. He stared at me, daring me. I didn't blink. We stood there, like 2 magnets turned the wrong way, pushing apart with incredible force. That night, the missed calls started piling up like dominoes. 10 from Dad, 12 from Mason, 4 from Aunt Rena. My phone screen was just a bleeding mess of red circles. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table, the credit card app open, my finger hovering over dispute. When it asked, was this authorized? I typed a definitive no. It felt like I was writing my own name for the very first time. At 2:13 a.m., a text from Mason. You're seriously doing this? Over $14,000. Sponsors are late paying, you know how it is. At 2:15, you know I'd do anything for your kids if you had any. At 2:21, Mom is crying. At 2:22, you happy now? I just put my phone face down and listened to the hum of the refrigerator. In that quiet, something loosened in my chest. Not relief, not exactly. More like space. The next morning, the car wash bays steamed in the cold like small boilers. I unscrewed a nozzle, trying desperately not to replay the party in my head. My regular, Mrs. Z. Ortiz, rolled in with her dusty SUV. She saw my face. Trouble? She asked. Family, I said, and she just nodded, like that was all the explanation she needed. At noon, Mom called. Her voice sounded thin, like paper. Your father is furious, she said. Mason is loud. I can imagine, I said. How are you? A pause. Tired, she admitted. Then, are you sure about this, Caleb? Yes, I said, and my own voice surprised me with how steady, how even it was. I'll cover the medical, Mom. Not the parties. I'm done being the emergency fund for other people's emergencies. Silence stretched on the line. You've always been so generous, Caleb. Generous isn't the same as available, I told her. That night, Dad left a voicemail that started calm and ended mean. We don't raise quitters, he said. If you're going to be petty over a number, don't come Sunday. I replayed that last sentence once, then deleted it. The app pinged. Your dispute is being reviewed. The next week was a test. Mason posted a long story about haters who don't understand investing in memories. He never mentioned my name, but he didn't have to. A cousin DM'd me. You good? I replied, yep. It felt like standing still while a river tried its best to drag me away. That Monday, I drove Mom to billing. We sat under the harsh fluorescent lights while a woman in a cardigan explained codes. If we remove the duplicate lab fees, she typed, it lowers the bill by $1,180. Mom's mouth fell open. I then asked for a 0% payment plan. The woman blinked, like she hadn't heard that request in months. We don't do zero, she said, but we can do low. We did math with a pen. It felt like winning a small battle in a huge, boring war. In the parking garage, Mom leaned against the car door. When did you learn how to do that? She asked, genuinely surprised. Counting quarters, I said. She smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in weeks. Tuesday, Dad showed up at the wash. He rarely does. He just stood by the vending machine, looking like a customer lost in translation. We need to talk, he said. I wiped my hands on a rag. We are. He looked at the wet concrete floor, then back at me. Your mother's tired. I know, I said. You humiliated your brother. He used my card without asking. I told him. That's humiliation. Dad squinted. He told me you said he could. He didn't ask. I kept my voice flat. If you co-sign his story, that's your choice. My boundary stands. He stared at me like I'd suddenly grown 6 inches taller. Who do you think you are? The person who stopped, I said. I'm still your son. I'm not your bank. He nodded slowly, as if he'd just found the ugly edges of something new. You're cold, Caleb. I'm calm, I corrected. He left without getting his car washed. The bank called Thursday. A woman named Jasmine verified my dispute. Her questions were simple. Did you hand your card to anyone? No. Did you authorize a helicopter service? I exhaled into the phone. No, I said. We're freezing the merchant transaction pending investigation, she told me. I thanked her like she just pulled me from a ditch. Mason texted an hour later. Bro, really? I didn't respond. Friday night, Mom called from her bedroom. I could hear the TV loud in the living room. Dad's way of saying he was still home. I found an old envelope, she said. From you, full of quarters. Do you remember? You said it was for soup day. I remembered. I should have said no more often, she whispered, her voice shaking. To him. To your father. I made you the fix. I let myself be it, Mom, I said. We meet in the middle. After we hung up, I cleaned my apartment, the way you do when you need to touch everything you own, to tell it you're still here. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and slept deeply, like someone had finally cut a rope. The next week, my phone screen told a story in numbers. 37 missed calls on Sunday, our family dinner. 19 unread texts on Monday, ranging from call me to you're stressing Mom out. 0 responses from me. I wasn't playing a game. I was building a habit. Habits like this. Breakfast at the diner at 6:15, a walk behind the strip mall at 7 o'clock, opening the bays at 7:30. Paperwork at 9 o'clock, a call to billing at 11 o'clock to double check an adjustment. Lunch in the truck at 1 o'clock. Invoices at 3 o'clock. The gym at 6 o'clock. Lights out at 10 o'clock. I added one more. At 8 p.m., I turned my phone face down and left it that way. You'd be amazed how loud silence can be when you finally let it in. 2 weeks later, Mason showed up at the wash. No cameras, no swagger. He stood by the change machine, looking, for once, like a person without a script. You got the charge reversed, he said. I did, I confirmed. He nodded. They sent me a letter about possible fraud. They sent me a letter about possible fraud? I countered. We agree. He made a face. You really going to make me pay for all of it? No, I said, and his eyebrows jumped. The hospital reduced Mom's bill. I'll cover that payment plan. The rest is your problem. Get a sponsor, sell a sneaker, cut a cake smaller. He rubbed his jaw like it was sore. You used to help. I used to drown, I said. Now I don't. He stared at the wet concrete. Mom's mad at me. Mom's scared, I corrected him. There's a difference. He looked up, his eyes shiny. You always talk like that. Like you know the right words. I know what I'll do and what I won't, I told him. He sniffed, then let out a small, hollow laugh. You're really not coming Sunday? Not until people talk to me like I'm a person, not a wallet. He nodded slowly, then shrugged. You do you, man. He left. I watched his tail lights until they disappeared. That night, Mom texted just 3 words. Miss you steady. I typed and erased 4 different replies. Finally, I just wrote, Monday at 9 o'clock. I'll pick you up. She sent a heart emoji. It felt like a non-expensive memory that still counted. Closure isn't fireworks, you know? It's a pencil line you draw, and then redraw, until your hand learns the shape. It's the first time you don't answer a guilt call, and the world doesn't end. It's a hospital bill on a payment plan that actually shrinks. It's a Saturday where the bays stay busy, and no one needs your last $20 because you stopped giving it like a reflex. Mom and I met with billing twice more. We paid $300, then $300 again. I watched those numbers slowly turn into less. She watched me talk to people like the world wasn't on fire. In the car, she said, You're good at this. So are you, I replied. You raised brothers. She smiled and looked out the window at the ordinary, endless sky. Dad sent one more voicemail. Your mother says you're helping at the hospital. That's good. Then, after a pause, a little softer. That's good. He still doesn't like the word boundary. He'll get used to it, or he won't. That's not my job anymore. Mason pivoted to smaller parties, a backyard circus, a puppet show. He even posted a video about sustainable wonder, which actually made me laugh, in a non-mean way. He hasn't apologized the way they do on TV, with a big speech and a hug. He apologized by not using my name as a password anymore. I'll take it. I changed small things. I moved the family group chat to muted. I set a monthly mom budget in my notes, with a clear line that says medical only. I even put a sticky note on my fridge that just says, no new cards. It looks silly, but it works. I also started saying yes to things that aren't rescue missions. Yes to coffee with a neighbor who told me her Corolla makes a squeak I could probably fix. Yes to closing early one Thursday to play pickup basketball with guys who only know me as Caleb Corner 3. Yes to sleep. It feels like such a luxury when you've spent years sleeping with your shoes on. I don't hate my family. I don't love what they expect. And both of those things can absolutely be true. The kids still send me crayon drawings with soap bubbles stuck to the paper because they think my job is magic. And sometimes it really is. The other day, a teenager was spraying his dad's dusty pickup, grinning like he'd just learned a secret. I handed him extra quarters and said, keep going. This story doesn't end with anyone getting cut out of a will or a helicopter exploding in a blaze of glory. It ends with a car wash owner learning how to keep his own water pressure. It ends with a simple sentence I say out loud in my empty kitchen before I answer the phone. I don't owe anyone my peace. I won't allow people, family or not, to spend my life with my money. I won't let guilt dress up as love and move into my guest room. I won't say yes just because I can fix it faster. I will say yes when it helps and no when it hurts. That's the whole moral, written in big letters on a small sticky note. This wasn't about getting even. It was never a plot. It was a stop. It was me telling the room, the bank, my brother, my father, and the part of me that thinks he's only worth what he pays. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. And then I turned down the music, unlocked the bays at sunrise, and started counting quarters again. Not because I had to patch someone else's hole, but because I finally chose what I'm willing to fund, my mother's health and my own quiet.